Recording in progress.
I was waiting for it. Oh, welcome to Frightening Frauen with Tyler and Lee. Oh, wrong way. Oh, dang. I can't do this not mirrored thing. I should have left it. It was mirrored, but then I was like, oh, my shirt's backwards. And so I changed it. And now it's weird because my hair is on the other side.
Yeah, the whole mirrored, like the invert thing is just, it breaks my brain. So I try not to that's why I don't look at my like face in different situations, because if it's different than what I'm used to, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah. The whole funhouse mirror thing.
Yeah.
So first matter of business. I got this in the mail.
Know why? Cow pie. Guess what? Chicken butt. I do that as much for the recipient who gets the message as I do for the mail person. Like,
right.
Because I feel like they're going to be reading it going, hee, that's dumb.
Yeah, if you guys didn't see the packaging for this is from Lee's shop on Etsy. And I think you can go to, was it lee.com?
Lee.com. Yeah. So
Lee.com.
Yeah.
So this is part of why I didn't mirror it too, so they could read it.
And Boogie's like horrified face. He's like, because I like torment him.
All right.
Yay. I'm not
energy
my
drink.
packaging for my shop is so nice that if it's from me, it's like chaos. It's like
you want to say hi? Okay, you can say hi real quick. I got another co-host.
Woohoo.
And there's a matching co-host. Lee says hi, and everybody on YouTube says hi.
Hello.
All right, so I got a letter. Do you want me to read the letter on here?
Yeah, I didn't say much. I'm not good at words.
It says, "You are the most amazing human in the world, Tyler."
That's kind of what I was trying to say, but it came out different.
Look at your art. It says, "Happy birthday. I'm glad we are friends. Lee."
Yeah.
Oh, I love the paper.
Those are like bags that I got for the greeting cards that I made, but I haven't sold any of. I've only sold like one pack of, but I got these like cool little bags to put them into and stuff. And then I like tied the cards up in these like nice like brown string, and it looks the presentation is very nice. I just haven't gotten to send it out.
Like your presentation, if you guys go onto my TikTok, you can see me opening. Someone sent me gifts this is from Lee, but someone else bought me gifts from Lee's shop for my birthday. And I opened them, and the presentation is very cute. I tell Lee that she should charge more.
I should.
She doesn't listen to me.
No.
So go buy things while they're cheap, guys.
Yeah, at some point I'll actually learn what they're worth, because I'll start selling stuff in person and be like, oh, well, Etsy.
Oh, you did a little wax seal.
It came with that. So there's two things in there.
I see.
Yeah.
There's also your eyes.
Oh yeah. I put my card in there. I did put my card in there. Oh, maybe because I knew you were going to open it. So
okay, so the card says crafty l@lee.com.
Lee.com.
Lee, well, it says that's lee.com.
Yeah.
Lee.com.
Yeah. The Lee was taken.
These are so cool. And then I had asked Lee to save these for me.
Yeah. I just was like, I'm throwing those in.
Little candy corns.
So I don't know, like I don't have any experience with like hair pokey things, but you have enough hair that I feel like they would work.
I think so.
Plus it's two crows. So
Exactly. Did you guys see that? They're two crows. Okay, I'm gonna play with my hair later. I'll make another video. Thank
Squishmallows
you.
alive.
Evelyn's looking for the car keys. I don't know where they are, honey. Um, I don't know where they are, Evelyn. You're gonna have to look for them later. I don't. I don't know where they are. So I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
no.
Yeah, I don't gifts are weird because I don't always gift. I only gift when I see like the right thing. So it's like
Yeah,
you might go a couple birthdays without getting a gift, but then when you do get a gift, it'll be because it was
the right
like
thing.
ultimate. Yeah, exactly. It's like the right thing.
Well, it was the right thing. It's perfect. And I love everything that I got from your shop as well. So
Awesome.
um I meant to use one of my mugs, but they're way over there. My little minions left.
Their mugs are hiding.
And they're I can see them, but I'd have to climb over my stuff I put over here.
Your wall.
My wall of pickles. I was like, I'll unwrap one of the pickles so that you could tell what they are.
I want
Sure.
to be able to eat pickles, but they just with the Marcel stuff, they don't go well. Plus they're almost always made with garlic, which I can't eat.
Mm,
So it's
and
kind of
onions, probably.
yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I tried making my own and that's how I discovered that I have an issue with the just how they're made.
They, I made my own too, and I did do better with those. The sound is being weird in my head right now. What is going on? It's like, oh, oh, I don't like that. It's like the noise canceling turned on at the same time.
Oh no.
They're noise canceling headphones. I'm sorry for all of my technical difficulties, guys. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so you have some updates on your RV stuff. You've raised about half the money for it,
Yeah, I'm
right?
at my GoFundMe's at 5730 right now or 5740 right now, which is amazing. I really didn't expect to get much at all. But the suspension repair costs are 7,200. So I'm not quite there yet. And I did ask for 12. I'm not expecting to get the full 12, but that's to help pay for the 4.5K in solar batteries that I had to get
Yeah.
as well. That I wasn't
Ugh.
expecting to have to get for quite a while. And yeah, so those went on a credit card that, you know, my income is too low to pay. So anything,
Yeah.
it's
Those
gonna help. Like,
batteries.
yeah.
And you
And they're
needed
not
you
even
needed eight? Is that
yeah,
right?
and they're not even the batteries that I wanted to get, but the batteries I wanted to get were so expensive that like I just was like, yeah,
That's how it is
it's
with mine. If you guys don't know, both of us have RVs. I was living in mine and I will again, but my I have solar as well and I built the whole system and Lee's now redoing the system that was on the RV that she got and the batteries for that solar system are very expensive. They should last a long time now, but they're very expensive to have to rebuy all of them and Lee was not expecting that.
yeah. I knew they were old, but they were working fine when I bought the RV and then they when the roof was replaced, the batteries were fully discharged, which for lead acid can be bad even when they're healthy. But because they were like closer to end of life, it killed all of them, all eight. So, and the batteries themselves are like individual. Like if I only needed two, it wouldn't have been that bad. But because the system, the way it's built, I need eight of them in order to support like a 36-foot like trailer. It just adds up to like a lot. Plus, like I needed
Yeah.
like some custom cables made for like the last four of them, and those were like 80 bucks a pop and all
Yeah,
that.
it's
So
it's a lot, and it's nice when it's working and it will save money like over the long haul, but it's a lot upfront cost.
yeah, it gives me the
Eh,
freedom to be able to park kind of anywhere. And the only thing I really need access to is like water regularly because I have the composting toilet and then I'll
mhm.
have the solar. So as long as I'm careful, I won't need like the hookups. I just need access to water.
And I know that this isn't interesting for me. I don't know about all you guys, but I hope it is. How does the composting toilet work?
So the one that I got, I'm like, let me tell you,
Yeah,
the one
I
that
want
I
to
got
know.
is it's fully enclosed, but it has like a little funnel in the front of it, and then it has like a trap door in the back part of it. And so when you go pee or poop, like your poop either goes towards the back or your pee goes in the front. Like men have to sit. You cannot stand and pee, which is awesome because I already have that rule in my house. If you have to stand when you pee, you go outside. But the pee gets separated into bottles and then the poop goes into this like reservoir that has I'm putting like moss in there.
Mhm.
And after you go poop, you like turn it 3 times and that mixes it up and it starts to compost. And because there's no liquid in there, because there's no pee or water in there, the poop doesn't smell that much. That's really what causes the bacteria growth that makes that really strong smell. And so once you have like a good bacteria population, it takes like a week or two. There it just smells like dirt. It's not it's not like
That's
gross like people
awesome.
expect. And then the pee I'll have to dump out like every 3 or 4 days, but that's really good for plants, so that's not a big deal. And then the poop is like it said if you go every day, it's about 90 days. And you can either I was planning to feed it to my worm bin, but my worm bin died. So if unless I get a new worm bin, I'm just gonna put it in one of those composting bags and just put it
Mhm.
in the compost.
Okay. And I heard that it takes like 4 years for poop to turn into compost if you don't have worms. Like if you're just composting it, compost that can be used for plants. Is that accurate?
That I don't know because the stuff that I read said like a year or so if you're using it with the toilet that you could or you could add it to like a compost pile that's going to be doing its thing for like a couple of months or whatever. But I haven't looked into that because I was focused on the worms.
Right, right. I only read that in one article, so I don't know how accurate it is, but it was someone who had a
Yeah,
composting toilet in their house and they had two places that they would move it to. So every 4 years they would move the toilet, dig up everything, use it, or store it. And then when they went to move it again, then they would use that compost and then it was a whole thing. But
interesting. I wonder if
uh,
that's because that's all that's there, and so you get a lot more of that bacteria versus because mine it's literally going into like a closed thing, and I can just pick it up and dump it out, and then I add more moss and it. So I don't know. I'm gonna look that up because I'm curious about it. But I would
yeah, and that was
imagine,
underground. So it could be the way it was being stored, and I don't know if they were diverting the urine or not. So
yeah,
that could be part of it too.
yeah, yeah. The whole
And it could be wet.
Blackwater.
Yeah.
That just sounds. That sounds more like they have an outhouse in their house.
It was like that. It wasn't in America. It was a different
Yeah.
country. So
So
but they were trying to be completely green. And so they had wind that they had built, they had water that they had built, and then they were doing the composting toilet in their house to be like completely green and use that for their garden.
yeah. That's
And
cool.
then
I'm
they're
excited about having.
filtering. They did divert the urine because they were filtering it for something for watering the plants, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna because I have the gray water tank, so I'm planning on using that to water the plants because it's just like sink water and the laundry water. There won't be any bathroom stuff there at all. Um,
What are you
so
doing for
that's
laundry?
so part of the reason why I picked the trailer that I did is that has a spot for it, but I won't be able to run a dryer, so I just got a washer, like a
Okay, and then you'll
small.
hang dry.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'll
that's
just
not
and
too bad.
I already hang dry like half of my stuff anyways, but I'm really bummed because I have a really nice all-in-one washer that doesn't use a lot of power, but it won't fit. It's too big. So I'm gonna have to sell it.
Ah,
Yeah.
bad.
Hopefully somebody Americans are not very familiar with the all-in-ones. So I don't know how much of a market there is for like a used one, but it's like freaking brand new.
I feel
Like
like they're getting there though. I have seen more for sale and I have seen a lot more like YouTubers and TikTokers talk about them.
yeah,
And they do take up a lot less room and they have a lot less energy usage. So
yeah.
you do
And
have to
water.
wait for the entire thing to be done. So it does take a little longer if you have a lot
But
of people in the house.
yeah, but it uses steam, which is like so much nicer on your clothes. Like your clothes would be so much softer. And it's I love them. I've had them for like years because I've never lived anywhere big enough to have a washer and a dryer and a cat box. So
So true. Um, yeah, so with your cat box, what are you doing with that? I'm asking so many questions about your RV. I'm sorry.
so my plan right now, based on the layout, is the front room has the two slide outs. So it's without the slide outs out, it's 8 feet across. And then when the slide outs come out, it's 12 feet across. And there's like a picture window at the very end that's kind of like a little alcove. And I'm gonna put all the cat box, and I'm gonna eventually, when I have the money, get a cat tower for him. And so he can just hang out in the window there. And I think that like layout wise, that'll work pretty well to be out of the way. There's really nowhere else to put it. So I have like the
I,
litter robot one. So
yeah.
it's got a
Does he
footprint.
does he like that?
Yeah. All my cats, this is my third one. I swear by them because they make my life so much easier. And all my cats have liked them. I've never had an issue with them integrating or adapting to them.
I want to get one, but I'm so scared the cats aren't going to want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But I tell you my plan for before I go back out on the road for the litter box.
Mm-mm.
So I'm building storage under the bus, and I'm going to do one compartment that the cats can go down into and put the litter box in there so I can empty it out from outside
Mm-hmm.
because I have a lot of allergies to the cat stuff no matter what litter I use. It doesn't, even if it's not dusty or anything, I think it's the actual cat pee, is what I think it
Yeah.
is. So I'm thinking of putting it underneath so the cats can go down in there and go to the bathroom, and then I can just open that up and dump it out from it out there.
That's genius.
So that's the plan. I saw one other person do it. I will insulate it because I don't want it to be too cold or too hot down there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do tend to go to colder climates with the bus. But I saw one other person do it and I saved everything to be like, I want to do that because that sounds perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
so I
really cool.
keep getting accidental cats, and I don't think I'll ever not have a cat.
Yeah. I can't imagine. Like, I thought like after Oski died that I would go without a cat for a while, and I couldn't. I didn't even make it a month. I was just like, nope, there's something missing, you know?
Yeah. I've had Fiona for almost 11 years. And then MILF Potato just climbed into my life. So now and I'm pretty sure MILF Potato was a kitten, like 4 months or so when I got it.
Yeah.
So that one will be around for a while now.
I'm curious to see how Amos will do in the RV. I feel like in a way the fact that we've been stuck in a room is good because he'll feel like he has more space and may adapt
Mhm.
to it more easily as a result. But all the windows should be like plenty of entertainment.
Yeah, and there's a lot more layers and cats love going up and down and all over the
Yeah.
place. And my cats have loved being in the RV, and just because there is a lot to climb on and to hide in, and um, they did a lot better than I thought they would. The dog is okay. I think likes it because there's not a lot of stairs because my house has so many stairs. And Frankie's 11 as well and getting old. So
Yeah.
her poor hips walking up and down all the stairs in the house. But She's been mainly on the main floor ever since the other dogs left because yeah, she doesn't have to climb all the way up to my room anymore.
Yeah. My dog did not, he never saw stairs until I got him, and he was 6 when I got him. And so he did not, he would do the stairs, but he did not like them. And I'm pretty sure he had like a low back injury prior to me getting him. And so like he was really, really careful about like slippery floors. And, like I pretty much knew like I could leave food out in the kitchen and he just wouldn't go in because the floor was slick. So, I was like, okay.
Poor thing. Oh my gosh. Frankie's definitely has like arthritis in her back hips and it gets better. It's better in the summer. In the winter, it's really bad. And she has to go out to go to the bathroom and because she wants
Yeah.
to go outside and she likes the snow, but I can tell that it's harder on her hips. But
Do you give her like the supplements and stuff that help with that?
yeah, and they have helped, and started giving her extra fish oil too, and that's helped too. So we'll see this winter because I started extra supplements last winter and it helped a lot. But we were also in the bus, so it's hard to tell because there wasn't stairs. So
Yeah. Well,
um,
hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. um, I know that her like breed's life expectancy is like 7 to 10 years, so she's at 11 now. And she's still kicking. She's still doing good. So,
That's awesome that she's an extra old lady. Was that what do they call the people that live over 100? The blue
oh,
something. She's one of
yeah,
those
yeah.
for dogs.
She's an old biddy.
It's like the secret to living a long life is have a good owner.
Exactly. And we're the third owners. So she went through, I think she was 2 when we got her. Um, and the first ones we're pretty sure were not kind or they had a kid that wasn't kind. And then the second ones, she just had a lot of anxiety and they didn't know how to handle it. And so they brought her back to the same place that they got her from. And then she was on anxiety, like dog Prozac, and got her weaned off of that. And she hasn't had to be back on it. We were a little worried that she'd have to with what happened with the other dogs, but um, with them leaving, she's still really nervous, but I think she'll get better. Like she's already doing better.
That's good. Yeah, my other cat who doesn't live with me anymore, but stayed with my ex because they like connected in a special way. Is on Prozac and just has been on it. Like I tried putting him on it, and when he was doing well, very slowly wean him off, and he'd be okay for about 6 months after he was off of it, and then he would start having issues, and it's all like food anxiety stuff. So like you'll start to prepare his food, and he will just pee. He gets so excited he pees, and on the Prozac he doesn't do that. He's still very demanding for the food, but he's more, but he's just sensitive. Like with Amos in the house, he's had issues like urinary issues and stuff from the stress. So like now he's getting the gabapentin to help chill him out even more. And then when we
Good.
move out, he should be
Back
okay to
to
just go back to Prozac only. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad they have that and they realize that it worked for dogs and it's the same prescription as humans.
Yep. It is just compounded.
Yeah, it's the same maker too of them. They're exactly the same. Same with antibiotics for the
Yeah.
fish tanks. It's the exact same as people antibiotics and the same companies, but like 1/100th of the price. I'm not saying that for any reason.
Yeah. I've actually found the cost of the meds for the animals to be proportionally more, at least for the meds that
But
I've
you
gotten
did?
for them. Yeah. Like
When
the
I was going through some like really bad infection stuff, and I didn't have insurance, my antibiotics they wanted to give me were like I think they were going to be like $60. It was when I was going through Lyme disease. So I had to be on like this hardcore antibiotics for like a month at a time. And it was a lot. And so I went and looked And it was like, because the fish ones, it comes in like 120 of them, and it
Hmm.
was like $5 for the whole thing.
Wow.
So I was like, hmm.
That's uh that's interesting. I wonder how they justify that.
I ended up still getting the human ones, but
Yeah. You're like looking at
it
it,
was
doing the
very
math and doot, doot,
tempting.
doot, doot.
I didn't want
Yeah.
them to blame it not working on me doing it that way because it didn't work. And I think it's like a 30% chance of working. And I went through the treatment like 3 different times over, I think it was 9 months. And the pills are horrible. Like I felt horrible. I'm like, I'd rather just deal with the Lyme disease at this point because
Yeah.
I felt so sick the whole time I was taking them.
The I took an antibiotic for like that's used for IBS and they get you take it for a week and it's like $800 just for the pills and I just signed up for they had financial assistance so I got it for free thankfully but like
Hmm.
when I saw how much it was I was like yeah so I only if it gets paid for can I take this and
Right?
it did help but like
Some of the meds I don't understand because it's only in America they cost that much. The same exact medications in another country do not cost that much. And so when you're looking at what they call like the like drugs being smuggled into America, majority of
mhm,
them are actually coming from Canada and like European countries and their actual prescription medications so that people can get them cheaper. And they're the same
yeah.
medications. And so people do go to like Canada and Mexico to go and get medications because they're the exact same. So there's a medication for HIV that here in America is over $4,000 a month if you don't have insurance. And the same medication in Europe is about $4 a month. And like, why? We can
Yeah.
eradicate this. And like
Yeah.
PrEP, same thing. PrEP to prevent HIV. If we got everybody on it and people were taking it, we could eradicate HIV. So why are they not doing that and making it affordable? And we have a contract with Gilead who makes those medications, which love the name, by the way. If you've watched or read A Handmaid's Tale. But that we can't sell generic brands until I think 2025 of the medication. And so we have to
Read.
pay, right? We have to pay the
Yeah.
full price until then because of the contract we have with the company that makes it.
I was reading an article that was talking about the long-term impacts of the weight loss medications because if people take these and their health gets better, they literally will not be going to the doctors and seeking treatment for these other things and that's people are getting worried and it's becoming like a threat. They're like, well, where are we going to get our money? If, and they're like, so that's one of the reasons to not lower the cost on the medication. And I'm like, dude, people are always going to need doctors for lots of different reasons. Like that cannot be the reason why people don't have access to stuff. That is immoral.
No, no. And then people could deal with their other health problems if they're not dealing with the problems from being overweight. And our weight issues have a lot to do with the things that the government subsidizes in the US, sugar and milk and like
Yeah.
all of
These
these things.
high
Yeah.
inflammation foods and additives and preservatives and like just crap. Like anything that's affordable for the most part is just crap.
Hmm. It's so true. And groceries in general are not affordable right now, even the crap. And
Yeah.
so we're dealing with people that were able to afford those vegetables or like full proteins and things like that now are being knocked down into the system of crap again. So you have more people just sustaining on crap.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and
like with the mast cell
yeah.
stuff, we have to avoid preservatives and stuff, right? And
Hmm.
so like that means eating like real foods. And I like my budget for like food is impossible. I end up like buying stuff to eat that I shouldn't be eating because I know it's going to make me sicker, but I literally cannot afford to eat the way that I should be eating. It's
Yeah.
just it's just not there is not enough money for that. And I don't have access to food stamps because they say that $1,600 a month in the San Francisco Bay Area is too much for food stamps.
That's not even enough for rent.
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
the hell? So
Yeah.
here it's about that same amount here, and the cost of living is way lower.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure, but I think there's sort of just like an amount and it doesn't matter where you're at. They're not really looking at like the cost thing. They were like, they approved me for $40 a month or something when I before I moved from the house. And because I won't be paying rent, there's no way I would be approved at all, like in the RV. But my cost of living is literally like my income, and that's without paying rent because of like groceries and my medicine and everything else. Like it's not, I'm not like buying extra stuff. I don't like all the clothes I wear were given to me from a friend that loves to go to thrift shopping and she pays for them. Like I can't afford clothes. I need shoes that are good for my feet. Can't afford it. Like,
No,
you
oh my
know?
gosh, that should be covered by insurance, honestly, especially with EDS.
Yeah. And the
It's
fact that they
oh
think that I have the rheumatoid arthritis that of course is taking forever to get diagnosed, like that I have that throughout my feet, then I should be wearing shoes that support my feet appropriately and stuff like that. It's impossible.
it
And,
is,
and it's
and
like that everywhere.
it
And the
is, and
places,
yeah,
yeah, and the places that aren't as bad are getting as bad. Like it's inevitable.
like our groceries in my town, because we're in the middle of nowhere, are way higher than in the cities. Yet we make less money here. So it's it's just this whole thing. And I know our rent is like rent in my town is less and mortgages in my town are less than the cities. But again, our pay is less. So most
Hmm.
people here are making like $20 an hour. And $20 an hour does not get you much anymore. So,
Yeah.
and they didn't raise how much they're paying people here when everything went up. And so the people that were doing okay on 20, $25 an hour are now suffering. And there's people now losing their houses, which houses had not been foreclosing here in a really long time because the cost of living was so low. And now people are losing their homes because their insurance and their taxes went up. It had nothing to do with even their mortgage amount.
Yeah. That's crazy. I don't even,
And
I
like,
think minimum wage here is like $15. And so like, which is,
mhm.
is nuts. And then my disability payment, it's not even close to minimum wage amounts. So, and
That's
I feel like,
ridiculous.
if you're permanently disabled or, or on Social Security after retirement or whatever, at minimum, you should be getting minimum wage.
Oh, totally. Like, and minimum wage should pay like for a single person to be surviving.
Yeah.
That, like, if you're working full time, there's no reason for you to not be able to survive. Oh
Right.
my gosh. I think minimum wage here is 10.75, which
Wow.
went up from $8 when I first moved here. Um, and I'm like, $8. Some of my employees were making $8. And I'm like, that's dumb. Like, there's no way you can survive. And they're college students living like together all in one place to
Yeah.
barely survive. But I mean, we all went through that, but but it's worse now. And I can admit that when I was college age, it was not as bad as it is now.
Yeah. No, I remember like I mean I started working when I was like 14 and it was always minimum wage and I think it was 4.25 then. And then
Mhm.
when I got a live-in care job that was like woohoo. Um
I'm wearing shorts, guys. I'm not naked.
I was like taking care of the person full time and like lived there, so I got room and not really bored. She didn't really pay for my food, but I was making like 4.32 an hour. And I would have had a hard time like renting anything more than like the tiniest of rooms or something, but I would have been able to. Like, I mean, just the amount that it's changed is, you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
And I think I talked about this on another episode, but my first apartment I got when I was 18 was 970, I think, a month. And that same exact apartment is 3,000 a month now.
There's a noise.
Oh, is that me?
Maybe. I think so.
Oh, is it my air conditioning unit?
I don't know. It's only doing it when you're talking and then it stops. Like, so maybe there's a background noise that's coming through when you're talking and then because it's totally quiet when you're not talking.
I think it is the air conditioning unit.
Okay.
Okay, is that better? It just turned off.
I'll say something again.
Hello, how are you today?
No, it's still there. Yeah.
Oh, then I don't
That's
know what
weird.
it is. Let me see. I'll mute and then unmute. Testing.
Yeah, it's still there. Is it
Ah,
moving? I don't know. Oh well.
hello.
I'll do my best to ignore it because it probably other people probably won't hear it as much as I do because I'm weird.
Ah, yeah, I don't know what changed. I had hit my headphone button, but my headphones are only for my me hearing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I was wondering
And
about that. Oh,
oh
it's so weird.
no, no, that's right. Yeah, it's not because you're not hearing my headphones. I don't know. I think it's
That's
in your
so
head.
weird. Okay.
Oh my gosh. See, this episode became about you though. So you're the woman to know.
It's about my
Um,
toilet.
you might actually know the person that this is about, because
Okay.
you like old films and films from other countries,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
She's an Austrian actress, who came to America and changed her name. So but Hedy Lamarr, do you know who she is?
I think so, yes. I'm bad at names, but I have like it sounds really familiar to me, so it'll come to me.
She was in silent films and then they turned to speaking roles when that became normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Let me see. Let me pull up a picture for you guys because she was called like the most beautiful woman in the world at the time. And I think they may have been true, like right about that. Like, oh, yeah. Oh, forgot the camera's up here now.
Oh yeah, I remember her. Yeah.
She was in Ecstasy.
That's that era of eyebrows that my eyebrows fit in with.
So true.
Yeah. I get people, your eyebrows are weird. That's what I get a lot. And, or I get, wow, your eyebrows are really classic. If people are like familiar with the old,
I was
and
gonna
I'm
say
like,
timeless.
you're
Yeah.
just, I
Mine
haven't,
are just confused.
and people are like, I've had people be like, you pluck them too much. I haven't plucked my eyebrows in over 20 years, except for the grandpa ones that started coming out with perimenopause. They're really curly and stuff. They're not part of the original brow. They're like a whole other like invading species. Like they must be plucked.
I get them on my chin. I
I
don't get them in my
used
eyebrows
to.
yet.
I did that like I always had some hair as part of my PCOS like fun, and then perimenopause made my PCOS better temporarily. It will come back, and so I haven't had to do anything here for a couple of years, and I'm enjoying the vacation because I know that like
They'll
in
come back
another
with a
5 years or
vengeance.
so it's going to be extra, and then I might just grow it out and braid it or something. I don't
I think I would.
know. I would try. I mean, it's
If I
not
didn't
fair
just
that
have two, I
yeah.
have like two or three, just like long ones. And
Yeah.
sometimes like someone will mention it and I'm like, oh yeah, it is there. And I just pull it out.
Yeah. It's not fair that as men age, they get to like cover what happens to the under part of their face, like with hair, and we don't get to do that. And then we get judged for it. It's not fair. Like, so if I
Mm,
can do that, I might.
yeah, I agree. And then like dye it cool colors and
Exactly.
draw as much attention to it as possible.
Just make people uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's my goal in life now. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let's learn about Hedy. Hedy
All
here.
right.
Many people who love the early films know her as the most beautiful woman in the world, as I said. Some even know of her from her tragic end because she dies. I mean, trigger alert. No.
So it's so it's so weird. Like, why would that happen?
It really wasn't it okay, I don't want to say it wasn't that tragic, but she was in her 80s when she died. It wasn't like a
Right.
tragic, like early ending, but everyone was like, oh, it was such a tragic end. I'm like, she died of heart disease.
She she did what ideally most humans would get to do, right? Is live a
In their
long life
80s.
and yeah.
And how truly incredible she was, and how she pioneered aspects of the world we live in today. Lamar was born, you're going to love her name, Hedwig,
Hedwig.
like the owl. Hed- Hedwig Eva Maria Keisler in
Nice.
1914. Keisler. Keisler?
Hedwig.
Hedwig.
Just that's such a that's a name. There's that's not the name that you would associate with like I mean if it with like a beautiful person, right? It's
Yeah,
sounds like an like a bookworm or,
it doesn't sound feminine either.
yeah, yeah,
And heady, like the things Americans could make fun of you for that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, her name was Hedwig Eva Maria Keisler or Kiesler. I heard it both ways. In 1914 in Vienna, Austria. And she was the only child of Gertrude, who they called Trude,
Crude.
Keisler, and Emil Keisler. Her father was born to a Jewish family in Lemberg in the Austrian part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, now modern day Ukraine, and was in the 1920s he was a deputy director of Wiener. Actually, I think it'd probably be like Weiner.
Yeah.
Bankviren, which was a major bank in Habs Habsburg monarchy and the first Austrian Republic, founded in 1869.
Wiener Bank.
Wiener Bank. And in the end of his life, he was a director at the United Credit. It was a really prestigious bank for royalty, like for monarchs. I can't pronounce the name. I'm sorry. I tried. 19 it was founded in 1931. Her mother was a pianist and a native of Budapest, and had come from the upper class Hungarian Jewish family. So both of her parents were really wealthy, and she grew up in wealth. And being a Jewish banker, her father made a lot of money and saved a lot of money. But she was an only child, so they spent a lot of it on her, and she was very fortunate for that. So her mother, though, converted to Catholicism, and they raised Hedwig in the Christian faith, but they never baptized her, as far as records show,
Hmm.
which is interesting. Um, Her parents sent her to a Swiss boarding school, and she hated it. She felt trapped while she was there, and she escaped and went back to Vienna because she was missing her family and the ability that she had there to be able to get into acting on stage, as well as there were some big film production places in Vienna that she wanted to work for. Whether or not she can act for them, she wanted to do whatever she could. As a child, Lamarr showed an interest in acting and was fascinated by theater and film. At the age of 12, she won a beauty contest in Vienna, and this led her to begin to associate, or sorry, as well as that, she started inventing things and was working with her dad on some inventions that he was working on. And she loved technology as well as just getting her hands onto things and figuring out how they work. Uh, so she loved both worlds and she didn't want to give up either of them. She wanted the big silver screen as well as to be getting her hands dirty and inventing things and learning. And she just loved how technology was as much as there was back then. She knew that there would be more and she wanted to have her hand in it. So her parents put her in some acting classes in Vienna. When one day she forged a note from her mother. um, I never forged a note from my mother, by the way, even though I got in trouble for forging a note that I didn't forge. Did you
I
ever
fo-
forge a note?
yeah, for a couple of years before I got caught. I used to cut school and go to the library because I was bored. So I'd literally go downtown to the library and then I'd write like notes. And it was
Mhm.
fine for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then I finally got caught. And I just said, oh, I've done it like 3 or 4 times. Like I didn't say it was my first time because that would be like too obvious, right?
Yeah, that's funny. I got in trouble for a note my brother forged saying that I signed it for him. I'm like,
Wow.
why would you throw me under the bus like that?
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Oh, I think that was the day. I'm pretty sure this was the day that my mom went to spank me for this because we got spanked with wooden spoons.
Hmm.
And she took the spoon up, and I'm like, I swear I didn't do it. And she took the spoon up, and it broke like in her hand before she could bring it down. She's like, you have a guardian angel today. And I was like, I didn't do it.
That sounds like something my mom would have said.
Go to your room. Make her sound like she's been smoking for 40 years. Um, So, with this forged note, she went to Sasha Film, which was the largest Austrian film production company of the silent film era. And she was able to get herself hired as a script girl during her school breaks and after school. And a script girl is a member of the film crew who oversees the continuity of the motion picture from wardrobe to props to dressing to hair and makeup, and just make sure that each scene is like seamlessly going through and that things didn't change between um, filming. And she wanted
That's,
to be, yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say that's like a important role because some of us get very distracted by the inconsistencies, like candles obviously burning for way too long between each cut, and the amount in the drink, and
Exact, yeah, and food on the
yeah,
plate. And
yeah,
yeah, I feel like they did better at this back then than they do now.
right?
Um, did you see the Barbie movie?
No.
So in the Barbie movie, they didn't actually eat or drink. Like they would pretend to eat, like make the food, and then they would have like an empty cup.
Okay.
And when she goes into the real world, they give her a cup and she goes to just pour it and it just pours on her. She's like, I'm not used to things being in those. But it also really bugs me in movies when the cup is empty and like you know that it's freaking empty and they're like
You can
tossing
tell
it
by the way
around.
they're holding it and stuff, and then the way the
Yeah,
drinking looks really fake and like,
like
yeah,
coffee cups, like from like
right.
a coffee shop that's like a paper cup. And you're like, that isn't it. No,
Yep.
just put water in it or something.
Right?
Oh, that always bothers me. And
Me
it's
too.
every single time. Like they do not have anything in those cups. Um, so she wanted to be as close as possible to anyone she could learn from and practice skills with. By 15, she was getting invitations to the glamorous parties held by the film elite in Vienna. While there, she was able to get a role as an extra in a movie called Money on the Market, or sorry, Money on the Street, which was a 1930s Austrian German romantic comedy film directed by George Jacobi. Jacoby, I'm sure is
Jacoby.
um okay. And then a small speaking part in Storm in a Water Glass, which is a 1931 Austrian German comedy film. Producer Mark Reinhard then cast her in a play entitled The Weaker Sex. Love that
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
Um, which was performed at the theater in Der Josephstadt. Reinhardt was so impressed with her that he brought her with him back to Berlin. She never formally trained with Reinhardt or appeared in any of his Berlin productions. Instead, she met the Russian theater producer Alex Gronowski, who cast her in the film directorial debut, The Trunks of Mr. O.F.
Trunks of. So like his pants.
I guess so. How did they come up with the names of these movies?
Right? Storm in a glass of water. So like
I think
they corner a poet and go, say something.
I bet that these are in German and like this is the translation to English
Yeah.
and it sounds better in German. And that was in 1931. And then Gronowski soon moved to Paris, but Lamarr stayed in Berlin and was given the lead role in No Money Needed in 1932, a comedy directed by Karl Boese. Lamarr then
Bose.
starred, and I was like, I don't know how to say that name. Boese. Boese.
Bose.
Lamarr then starred in the film, which made her internationally famous or infamous, depending on who you ask. And not her fault, mind you. This whole role makes me angry. The more I read into it and what happened to her, the more I feel for her. In 1933, is when the film came out. It was 1932 when they were filming, so she was 17. Lamarr was given the lead in the film Ecstasy. She played the neglected young wife of an independent older man. This was the first of its kind, a non pornographic film to portray a female orgasm. And of course, there were mixed feelings about that. Women don't have those.
Was that I can't remember what that was after like Freud told people orgasms were bad because before Freud did that, orgasms were considered a necessary part of procreation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, so I watched the scene and her all of her clothes are on. Like she's completely dressed. It's just her face. It zooms in on and it's like facial expressions of having an orgasm, and then her hand is like off to the side of the bed. You can look it up. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
But so that scene was what everyone had a controversy with, and her controversy wasn't with that scene. But remember, she was 17 when she filmed this, not 18. Um, so that also struck some controversy. The film became both celebrated and notorious for showing Lamarr's face in the throes of orgasm, as well as close up and brief scenes of nudity. And that was not in that scene. Um, in a scene where she's running outdoors unclothed and also skinny dipping, she almost walked off the set when she read that she had to get naked for this scene. I don't even have to read this because I could talk about it. So I looked up the scene and I don't think it should even be online because she was 17, but they told her that they would film it from really far away. They wouldn't really be able to see, they would know that she was naked, but they wouldn't be able to see it. And that they were mainly going to be focusing on the guy that she was trying to hide being naked from. So she's
Mhm.
like trying to hide herself from this guy. They used what did they call it? A high powered telephoto lens to be able to film her from far away. And it was not a wide angle, it was right up on her.
I had a feeling that was coming.
And she did not know this until they were reviewing the film when it was finished. And she got to go to the showing of it before it actually released to theaters. And she went and saw it and she was mortified. She felt extremely violated. She felt duped. And like in her biography that she wrote, that's the word she used, was duped. Um, and then she knew that her parents were going to go see this film and they would not be happy about this. And they were not. As soon as it got to one of the scenes so they saw the orgasm scene and they didn't like that, but she was fully clothed. And when it got to the nudity scene, they walked out of the theater. They couldn't finish the film. They were very upset. She, during recording, had a person with her that was supposed to be protecting her and making sure that she wasn't being stepped all over as a woman in the film industry. And that person didn't help, I guess.
Yeah, right. Somebody didn't do their job.
Yeah. Although she was dismayed and now disillusioned about taking other roles, the film gained world recognition after winning an award at the Venice Film Festival. Throughout Europe, it was regarded as an artistic work, and it really is beautiful. I watched the film, it is really beautiful. I hate how it happened, and I don't even think that nudity scene needed to be in there at all. It didn't really add to the film, and I think they just did it for exposure, but the rest of the film was well done and it is beautiful. So in America, it was considered overly sexual and received negative publicity, especially among women's groups. It was banned. It ended up being banned in America as well as in Germany for being too sensual and erotic. And if you were to watch it, it is not that sensual or erotic,
right,
to today's standards, but
right.
Women cannot have orgasms. So after feeling taken advantage of, she went to the stage to play starring roles in front of live audiences where she had control over what she was doing and knew how it was being perceived by the audiences, which made a lot of sense to me as that being what she went to go do after that. And she ended up getting a lot of adoring fans, and a lot of them men would try to get backstage to talk to her and to try to woo her. And she would poo-poo them away. I want nothing to do with you. I'm 17.
Yeah.
So after she turned 18, there was one particular man, a 33-year-old Frederick Mandel. There's no E. It's Mandl, but in some of the documentaries they said Mandel and some said Mandel. But he was obsessed with her. He at first seemed like he was in awe of her and really liked what she was doing and respected her, but later on it didn't seem like that anymore. Mandel was an Austrian military arms merchant and munition manufacturer and the third richest man in Austria. After a while of avoiding him, she finally gave in and fell for his charms and gifts. She thought his personality was fascinating, and she did like the attention he gave her. And admittedly, she was attracted to the security of his massive wealth. There would not be a love story without disapproving parents, though, right?
Right.
Her Jewish parents did not approve of this match at all. And let's not forget, she had just turned 18. Their biggest problem with Mandel was his ties to the Italian prime minister and national fascist party leader, Mussolini. And later, after that, his ties to Hitler.
Yeah. That yeah.
Yes. The arms and munition dealer of the people who soon would be to try to exterminate his soon to be wife's family.
Yeah.
this is pre-World War II, so this is before all of that happened, but it was ramping up.
Yeah.
Lamarr did not listen to her parents' pleas, and she did marry Mandel on August 10th of 1933 at this beautiful Catholic church. I'll try to pronounce it. Carl Skirch. Carl Skirch. It's a Roman Catholic church and it's really pretty. It's in Vienna, Austria. In her autobiography, Ecstasy and Me, she described Mandel as an extremely controlling husband who strongly objected to her simulated orgasm scene in Ecstasy and prevented her from pursuing her acting career. She claimed she was kept a virtual prisoner in her castle home. They lived in a castle. Um, Mandel would fly into a rage if she even mentioned acting or her past in doing so. He did not care about her passions or desires. He seemed to seek to confine her and control her. He won
She's a
his prize.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's a trophy. Just that's it. He wanted
Yeah.
to own her.
And he also mentioned and seemed to think that he rescued her from acting. Mandel had close social and business ties to the Italian government, selling munitions to the country. And although, like Hedy, his own father was Jewish, his mother was not. So I guess he's not really Jewish. Um, he had ties to the Nazi regime of Germany as well, which I'm not sure she knew that before she married him. But Lamarr wrote that the dictators of both countries attended lavish parties that at their home. I'm
Wow.
sure they loved her being there. Lamarr accompanied Mandel to business meetings where he conferred with scientists and other professionals involving a military technology. These conferences were her introduction to the field of applied science and nurtured her talent her love and talent for science. Um, Thankfully, she did meet some people during that time, and it did lead to what she does later on. Um, Lamarr's marriage to Mandel eventually became unbearable, and she decided to separate herself from both her husband and the country in 1937. In her autobiography, she wrote that she disguised herself as her maid and fled to Paris. But by other accounts, she persuaded Mandel to let her wear all of her jewelry to a dinner party, then disappeared. I want to believe it's that one.
Yeah. She's like, the layered look is really in right now.
I just want to wear all of it right now.
I want everyone to see how much you love me.
That's probably what she said, actually. She writes about her marriage. I knew very soon that I could never be an actress while I was his wife. He was the absolute monarch in his marriage. I was like a doll. I was like a thing, some object of art, which had to be guarded and imprisoned, having no mind, no life of its own. That's so sad. Um, she ran back to the screen, but knew she did not want to be taken advantage of again. She knew she had talent and deserved to be paid accordingly. She was scouted by Louis B. Mayer, who offered her a contract for $125 a week. How much do you think that would be in today's money?
I don't know. Probably a couple thousand at least.
2,665. But she knew this was not appropriate for the work that she would do. She, um, they would want her, they would want her to do a lot of roles, and a lot of actresses were being used like for movie after movie after movie, which we do now too. But she knew that they would be pumping out movies and be making a lot of money off of her, and she knew that she was good at what she did. Um, so she got on the same boat as him to New York. Um, and she impressed the scouts so much with her intellect and with how she carried herself. And he caved and agreed to her terms of $500 a week, which would be about $10,660 a week in today's
Dang, girl.
economy. I love that she fought for herself.
Right?
Um, this was when she also changed her name from Hedwig Keisler to Hedy Lamarr. This was partly to pull away from her nickname, the Ecstasy Lady.
That's so original.
And I know, right? And she chose this last name after a silent film star she looked up to named Barbara La Mar. So La is the middle name, Mar is the last name, who had passed away at 30 years old in 1926 and had appeared in 27 films while between 1920 and 1926. Also, she was a screenwriter and was has a tragic story as well, which I did not know anything about her until I was researching this, and I might have to do her later because yeah, she died so young and in the
Yeah.
middle of working on things. Sorry, I
Yeah, it
had
sounds like
knocked.
she's pretty prolific.
Um, so she was brought to New York. Oh, sorry, she was brought from New York to Hollywood and was promoted as the most beautiful woman in the world, which, as we've determined, she's very beautiful. um, I don't like us all comparing ourselves to each other. And of course, it's men who are saying that. It wasn't her saying that, but
Yeah.
um, so Meyer began loaning her out to producer Walter Wanger, where she starred in Algiers in 1938, an Americanized version of a French film, Pepe Le Moco, um, which was made only a year prior, so they're remaking it a year later.
That sounds about right.
Right. We do that here. The Office. What was that one with the vampires and the werewolves?
Oh, the what we do in the shadows? That one or a different one?
No, that's another one.
Yeah. Well, that one they just did a TV show spin-off. It's not so much like a yeah, but I
There's
don't know about
another
the
one. It was like British and American. Like we don't understand people who
yeah.
speak British.
I know Shameless was one. The Killing is another one. Because I watched like the originals,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go and watch the American ones, and I'm like, man, it's just so dumbed down. Why?
It is. Or they do the exact same thing, like word for word, scene for scene. It's
Right.
like I can just watch this in other English. um, let's see. The film was a hit. She was pushed as an unknown but well publicized Austrian actress because I didn't want to say who she really was. To be first to be the first to see this new sensational actress on the silver screen in America because they had exiled her other movie. And everyone gasped when at Lamar's beauty when she got on the screen, and she literally took their breath away, is what some of the magazines said.
I think like at the time, like film had so much power to impact people because it was such a novelty.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that it's not that beauty wasn't like made a big deal, but we weren't able to highlight it and like zoom in on it and do all of these things that like you started being able to do in film and stuff. So it's interesting to think about like the difference in how now we're just kind of like we're sort of numb to it, right? But at that
Yeah.
point, there are movies that came out later that had this like Clockwork Orange was like the intent of it was to shock people and to take you through the experience of it. And because people are so used to like watching difficult things now, they can't even watch that movie and experience it the way that it was intended at the time. But people were like traumatized by it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And you could
fascinating.
only see movies in the theater for the most part. So you couldn't buy them when they came out. You had no way of playing them.
Yeah.
And so you could only see them on the big screen. And it was a huge ordeal. And a lot of people could only afford to go like once a year, like go and see a
Yeah.
film. Um, so it was a big deal, and a lot of people had never seen a movie before. And so seeing it huge like that and different effects that they do, and wasn't it like one of the first films was a train coming straight towards the screen and people like
No.
freaked out? Like people were like scared because like this
Yeah.
train is coming towards them and they had never seen something like that before.
I mean, it sounds totally feasible. Like yeah, I could see people because they've never seen like their brain wouldn't be able to separate from reality because they haven't learned to make that separation yet the way that we have. You know, all those studies have shown that even though we can be like, yeah, that's on TV, we still respond. We still aren't able to fully separate ourselves from it, which is why it's important that we pay attention to what we watch and stuff.
Yeah, and vice versa, because we also react the same way a lot of times in real life as we would to a movie.
Yeah.
Because they're so intertwined now in our lives. Digital like implements of things are just so yeah, that's a lot. I wish we could go back to the Stone Age. Not like politically.
Yeah. Just or like have the technology, but like with a species that was more inclined towards moderation.
Yes. Yes. Like I'm happy to have it with being with my youth. Like I know you can relate to this too, but with how my health has been, I'm glad that I have the technology because everyone I hang out with is virtual now.
Yeah.
And with COVID and all of that going on, I'm sure people would have been less depressed during the bubonic plague if
Yeah.
they had people to talk to.
Right.
Which it'll be out before this comes out, so I can talk about it a little bit. But I just did an episode on the dancing plague, and and it reminds me of that too. But how people are so what did I want to say? They're so influenced by each other, and how much more influenced we are now with technology that different things like the dancing plague are happening through not it doesn't matter spatially where you're at, it depends on the circles that you're in online, because
Yeah.
there's people like with self-diagnosing themselves with things they don't have because they're so in tune with the people that are there around, and so they manifest the symptoms that people that they follow or really like have. Like we see it in the non-pregnant person in a relationship having the symptoms of the pregnant person because they're so in tune with that person. And I believe a lot of times it's because usually it's because they care about the person. Sometimes it's because they're narcissistic and they want the attention. But
Yeah. Well, and even like
but yeah,
women who like people who think they're pregnant, but they're not, they can actually trigger the hormones to cause themselves to have the symptoms of pregnancy and
mm-hmm.
everything. It's fascinating, like how powerful that, you know, so it makes it like all the more important to be like self-aware and like sort of mindful of yourself in relation to what you're consuming.
Yeah, definitely. And being able to separate out what you are consuming and what's real life and being able to go through that in your own mind, so that you can differentiate. I think journaling is a great way to do that. And I need to do that more
Yeah, I know.
because
I miss it.
I watch a lot of
Used to
horror.
I used to journal like every day, and I started when I was like 8, and then at my last job I just didn't have the whatever. And that's part of why I post on Facebook as much as I do, is because it's the closest thing to journaling,
Mhm.
but I really should just get back into actual journaling. It's just I like the engagement. Like I'm so isolated that it's hard to put energy into something that isn't going to get me a
It's
little
just
bit
for
of
you.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why like I do a lot of poetry, and a lot of it I never shared. And then when I started sharing it and people like related to it, and it felt really validating, and then it felt lonely to go back to writing poetry for just myself again.
Yeah, I think that was part of it because I switched from writing in journals to doing live journal, and then when live journal died, I was like, well, what am I gonna where am I going to share it? Because that was, I have friends even to this day that I made on LiveJournal back in like 2001 to 2004. And, it's like, it was nice to be able to share it, even if it was a journal entry or whatever. It just,
Mhm.
but yeah, I don't know.
Is there something like LiveJournal now?
I
Do they
don't,
just use social media?
I don't know. Because LiveJournal is still around, but I don't think it's used in the US very much anymore.
Hmm.
But I don't
I
really
used
know.
one. So the one I didn't use LiveJournal, but I used one called Letters, and it was Lettrs, and that's where I published a lot of my poetry. But you could also do journal entries and short stories, and it was share. You could choose for it to be shared or just for yourself. And I had all of my stuff on there, and then the whole site got shut down because they didn't have enough engagement anymore. And I'm like, I loved that site though, because you can like decorate it. You could make your you can have custom stamps that you put on your little. I loved it. It was very artsy, and I'm sad that it's gone.
Were you
And
able to download your stuff so you have your content?
thankfully, I had already been downloading it after I would publish it there. I would save it. And so I did find most of them. I think I'm missing some, but my favorite ones I do have. And they're saved the way that they were on there. So I have it with the background and the stamp and everything.
Oh, okay, cool.
And but I'm rewriting them now, handwriting them, and I'm making a book. It's I don't know if it'll ever actually be published, but that's my hope. And I'm doing a poem, a journal entry or short story, and then a sketch. And so I'm going to do it that way throughout the whole book. And I want it all in my handwriting. I don't want any of it typed. And we'll see if I ever publish that.
It sounds like even if you don't publish it, it sounds like a really just, I don't know, enjoyable project, something to
Oh,
put your
I
energy
love it.
into.
I've had a lot of fun making it, and I think I have like 10 poems and like 5 journal entries in there. And then I have a sketch for each of the poems, and then I have to write more journal entries, get caught up on that, and then add more poems. Poems are easier to write for me.
Yeah,
But
I can't do poetry at all.
we will be in a 2-day intermission because we are chatty Cathys. So join us next time on Frightening Frauen for the other half of this conversation.